expectations of hand hygiene and personal protective equipment in a healthcare environment seamless and easy.
Okay, starting with our next session is really special, and I know you're all going to enjoy this. You know, the session's titled "Authenticity, Leadership, and Letting the World See You." And what better way as a shining example to see a young man with his infectious smile, Sam Acho, just a shining example of what all of us do every day for a living. Sam is an author, a public speaker, a humanitarian, and current linebacker in the NFL. Sam's a Longhorn, where he received the Campbell Trophy for being college football's top scholar athlete. He also won the NCAA Top 8 Award, recognizing the top 8 student athletes in all of sports. Talk about leadership. He is vice president of the NFLPA, an organization in which he has served since his second year in the NFL. After Texas, Sam continued his education, received his MBA in 2015 at the Thunderbird School of Global Management, and is the founder and president of Athletes for Justice, an organization that exists to unite professional athletes and everyday athletes together to fight injustices around the world. His first book, Let the World See You, How to Be Real in a World Full of Fakes, was released in October of 2020. Sam, we're so glad you're with us today. And now I'd like to introduce our moderator, Steve Hatchell. Steve became president and CEO of the National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame in 2005. During Steve's tenure, the National Football Foundation has experienced phenomenal growth. He moved the foundation headquarters from the East Coast to the state of Texas, and he played a critical role in moving the Hall of Fame from South Bend to Atlanta. Steve has chaired the College of Football Bowl Association and the NCAA Football Committee, and has served as commissioner of the Big 12 Conference, Southwest Conference, Metro Conference, Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, and has been the executive director of the Orange Bowl. Steve, thanks for joining us. Sam, so glad to have you, and can't wait to hear what you had to tell everybody. Thank you both so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Bob. We appreciate this opportunity, and happy Monday, all. And Bob, we salute you. You're so thoughtful and so strong to make sure that you stay with this programming that normally you would do at the site of the college football playoff. And to be able to do this shows great strength and a lot of vision on your part. So we salute you and all that you do, Bob. And we salute all of the athletic directors that are with us today, especially all of you that worked so hard to make sure we had football for this season. Many of you are just great, wonderful friends, and we salute your strength and what it took to make things happen. This is really fun for us. And Bob covered about Sam. You should know that we don't like Sam. We love Sam Acho. And Sam has his family imprint here in Dallas. So we've been able to follow Sam and his family for a very, very long time, which has just been wonderfully delightful. And when Bob brought this up and talked about Sam, he'd already done his homework on Sam. And we knew greatly about Sam because in 2010, he was the Campbell Trophy recipient for the Football Foundation. And we've done 31 of those wonderful selections out of all of the great scholar athletes that we've had. And Sam was special, and he's still special. And when it came to authenticity, leadership, letting the world see you, you would start with Sam. And the reason that we like Sam and that we love this opportunity to be here today, you'll find that Sam just has great depth. His level of communication and commitment it's special. And when you have those qualities, then you turn around and you say, boy, this is really special. So we're able at the Football Foundation, where our goal is to protect the game and to have a vision for the future of the game. we like to set a new agenda, and the new agenda is how far can we go with the sport of football, and using Sam Acho and his family and his brother, etc., is just marvelous for us. As Bob had said, second team All-American, 3.55 grade average at Texas. And when you play football and you do so well as a captain, academically, athletically, you're special right from the very start. And that means you've got a full agenda and you know where you're going. You know what you want to do. It's just great fun. And our only regret is that we don't cross paths with Sam enough. And we hope to end that when we get into 2021. And I'll just start off, Sam, we've got a bunch of questions, and as you know, Hillary Jeffries in our office helped with these questions, and so get ready, because, you know, we like to grill you, you know, and maybe just start off on what does being a Campbell Trophy winner mean to you at that time when you were at Texas? What did that signify for you?
Well, first of all, Steve, thanks so much for the introduction. Bob as well, thanks for having me, and everyone listening, thank you all so much for joining another Zoom call in 2021. I appreciate you all. Winning the Campbell Trophy was special for me, mainly because I knew the academic and the athletic rigors and the demands that were put on me as a student athlete. And I knew that because I saw someone else do it, I knew that I could achieve higher goals than I ever thought or dreamed of. I say I saw someone else, a guy named Dallas Griffin. He was a senior when I was a freshman. He was a center. He was in the Macomb School of Business as well. He was in the honors program as well. And he won this trophy. My freshman year, he won the Campbell Trophy. The first time I believe a Texas player has won that trophy. And so as a freshman, I saw someone older than me, and I wanted that. Mind you, that was national championship year for them. That was, or I guess it was the year after the national championship, my freshman year, but they were really good team, and also he was really good academically. And so for me, winning that award was everything, because as a 21, 22-year-old student athlete, I was really not only pushing myself, but achieving a goal that seemed beyond achievement.
No, it was special, and you told us that too when we saw you, how much right from the very start you wanted that, and that always stayed with all of us. That was such a focus of yours, and we were so delighted with that. And
even as a freshman, Steve, even as a freshman, I think I share this story because I know we got a lot of athletic directors on this call. Even as a freshman, I had really, really big goals, right? And I know sometimes, like, as you see student athletes and maybe from different areas, or you just want to get them, you know, let's just graduate, let's get on the field. And I get that. But I went to my academic advisor and I said, hey, I'm trying to be in the business school. I want to be in the honors program. I want to not only get the best athletic everything, but I want the best academic as well. And so for me, freshman year, seeing Dallas win that award, like immediately it was like tunnel vision. Let's go, let's do it.
Yeah. And you did that. Sam, let's go back a little bit further too. With all of us, with our offices here in Dallas, we've had a chance to grow up with you and your family and Emmanuel, and share a little bit about that, because you've reflected on that in your writings and some of your talks about what it was like to be at theoretically an all-white school, very powerful school, and what that meant to you. And we'd sure like you to reflect on your parents, because obviously what they have done and represented in life has really impacted not only millions of people, but the two of you and Emmanuel, in a very positive way.
Well, I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas, but my parents were born and raised in Nigeria. So they immigrated from Nigeria to America, and obviously first generation Americans. And so in our household, I say this, and I talk about this in my book, And Let the World See You. This is the introductory chapter. I talk about how I grew up in pretty much like an all-white school, a school called St. Mark's School of Texas, a predominantly white school, college prep, all boys school. But the church I went to, my dad, he's a marriage counselor, psychologist, and also a pastor. The church I went to was an all-black church. So I had this all-white school that Mondays to Fridays, all black, predominantly black church on Sundays and usually Wednesday nights. But then my household was a Nigerian household. Here's what I mean by that. For anyone who asks, you know, let's say you have all these student athletes who are signing, you see these odd sounding last names that you can't pronounce. Oftentimes it's going to be someone Nigerian. And so in our family, when I say Nigerian household, I mean, three things were important. Number one, education. And this is in no particular order. Education. Education was of the utmost importance because my parents understood that the only way to get out from where they were was through education. That's the only way you come up from a developing country and grow. Education, number one. Number two, faith. Faith played a huge role in my upbringing. For me, it was my faith in God. God gave me an opportunity to not even opportunity, just like everything we had was because of God, point blank, period. So education, faith, and then also family, right? People always talk about faith, family, and football, and they throw these words around. But for us, family is everything. What I mean by that is, we go to Nigeria every single Christmas since I was 2, and we would spend Christmas and New Year's in Nigeria with my aunts, with my uncles, with my grandmother. We would spend every year, we would have to leave school a couple days early before Christmas break, or maybe we'd come back a couple days late. And we had a deep rooted understanding of where home was. Home for us wasn't Dallas, though we lived there, though I grew up there and though I was born and raised there. Home for us was this small village about 7,000 miles away in a place called Isukwato, Nigeria. That was home. And so when I talk about faith, family, and really education, those were the primary pillars of our family.
Sam, you obviously what your parents have taught you too is service and service to others. And I remember hearing from your dad when we had the good fortune of being around you with all of the Campbell Trophy things, and hearing your dad talk about service to others. And how did that impact you and Emmanuel and where you are in terms of service to others, which is such a big bright light that you have all the time?
So much of what young people learn is caught rather than taught. I'll say it one more time. So much of what young people learn is caught, it's not taught. Here's what I mean by that. Every single summer, so I talked about going to Nigeria on Christmas time. Well, every summer since I was as young as I could remember, my parents would go to Nigeria by themselves. What I mean by that is they wouldn't go with the kids. They would go with doctors and nurses and surgeons and dentists, ophthalmologists and pharmacists. They were born and raised in this village in Nigeria, different villages, and they came to America and they saw this disparity. They would see people in Nigeria dying from little, illnesses that a trip to the local pharmacy would cure. And then you go to America and all of a sudden people are fine. And so they never forgot about their roots. They would go back every summer and serve every single year. They would take off of work. They would take off of the things they were doing and they would serve. And so as a young person, I caught that. I saw them leave, and sometimes I'd be upset or confused, why are you leaving? But I saw them go to serve people who needed help. And so as I started getting older, as 15 years old was the first time I got a chance to go on that trip with my parents. They thought I was old enough to see the things we saw. And on those trips, you'd see people with cataracts. We'd remove cataracts, people with hernias, and they do surgeries to remove hernias. You'd see all kinds of different things. I went at 15 years old, and it's almost like I found a new part of me through service. I found a new side of me through serving. I caught that from my parents. They didn't say, son, every summer we're going to take you. No, they just did it. They just did it. And that's what I believe leadership is. It's just doing it, doing the right thing. And then all of a sudden people catch it and they start following you.
You've exemplified that all along. In fact, I would tell all of you who don't know Sam that if you had a thesaurus in front of you, that if you looked up leaders and leadership, the first name you would see there would be Sam Acho. And so I'm really glad that you touched base on that with your folks and how that is, because you've really brought that forward, Sam, in terms of providing a lot of leadership. And so we're really glad that you touched on that, because it's just real clear right from the start with your parents and you, that's how you are. Sam, tuning into today, the whole aspect, social injustice, it takes all of us, etc. You've written, you've spoken about this, and I think that you've talked about where we need to go and our directions and all of that. And you've been so thoughtful on that. And would you share some of those thoughts on where you think social justice is and what we need to do moving forward? I
think about everyone who's under the sound of my voice who's tuning into this call, and I think about the positions of leadership that you've been put in. Think about the positions of leadership that you've been given and granted for such a time as this. Think about how crazy the world has looked over the last few months, over the last few years. It's been unbelievably difficult for so many people, African-American people and student athletes, young people and students, and really everyone has been stressed and pushed. People who are dealing with COVID, older people have been just stressed and pushed and pulled in so many ways. And then I look at you, the people who have been put in positions to lead. I think about leadership. This is exactly why you are here. You are here to lead through the chaos. You're here to lead through the mess and through the turmoil. And no, that doesn't mean just pushing it aside and saying we'll deal with it later. No, it doesn't mean saying that's a non-issue. We have other stuff to do. It means empathizing. Leadership looks like empathizing. About 3 years ago, really 4, we were going through, I was playing for the Bears at the time, and there was everyone was talking about taking a knee, and there was this deal. Do you take a knee? Do you not? Are you unpatriotic or are you not? And there was this whole kind of chaos going on. And I remember walking from our team meeting room, from our chapel, actually, the night before a game, to the team meeting room and being cornered by 3 individuals the night before the game. It was George McCaskey, the chairman of the Chicago Bears. It was Ryan Pace, who was the general manager of the team. And it was John Fox, the head coach at the time. Those 3 individuals had one question for me. They said, Sam, we know there's a lot of unrest. We know there's a lot of turmoil, but our question is this: what are you all going to do tomorrow during the national anthem? Now, I tell that story not to say that I just came and I galvanized all these people and we rallied and we did. No, what I did is I said, I don't know. I told the coach, the head coach, the GM, I told these people who were in leadership and they're looking at me to lead as well. I said, I don't know. But let me go talk to the guys. Let's listen. Let's hear their hearts. Let's hear where they're coming from. And so that's what we did. I sat and listened and learned and heard different perspectives from different people, from different sides. And we came together the next day, and we decided as a team to lock arms, but we stood together as a team. Right. And so I say that to say that leadership isn't taking sides. Leadership isn't saying, well, I'm right and you're wrong and there's nothing you can do about it. Leadership looks like listening. Leadership looks like learning. And so just to bring it full circle, each and every one of you has been put in a position to lead at such a time as this. There's a story in the Bible, and anyone, no matter what your religious background, you'll be able to resonate with this. There's this woman named Esther who became queen. And she became queen at a time where all of her people were being cast down upon, they were being ridiculed, they're actually getting ready to be executed. And her uncle, this guy named Mordecai, her uncle said, hey, Esther, we need your help. You just became queen. The king is in power. We need you to come and save our people. And Esther was a little bit afraid. She was scared. She's like, what do you want me to do? There's a rule at the time that said, man, if I walk into the king's court, no one can walk into the king's court unannounced. The law said that you could actually be beheaded at the time. I can't do that, is what she said. And then her uncle Mordecai looked at her and said, Esther, how do we not know that you weren't put in this position of leadership for such a time as this? Mm-hmm. Who knows if the reason that you, Esther, became queen was just to save all these people. Well, fast forward in the story, she goes to the king's court and she announces, she says, hey, this is what's going on. Can you save my people? And the king says, yes. And everyone's saved, right? I use that example to say that who knows if each and every one of you wasn't put in this position of leadership during it's a pandemic, a global pandemic, number one. Number two, look at the race relations that are coming to a head in America, number two. Number three, political unrest, people picking sides left and right, number three. And then there's you. Better yet, there's us. People who have been put in positions to lead for such a time as this. And so if I can encourage you in any way, I would remind you and encourage you that it's not by accident that you are sitting in the seat that you're at, that you're in the position that you're at, you're in a position to lead. And how do you lead? It's not by picking sides, as we talked about earlier. It's about bringing people together. It's about listening, learning, bringing people together, and then understanding that your role as a leader is not always to get your way, but it's to do what's best for the people who you serve.
Mm-hmm. Sam, just sliding that just a little bit to the side then, how do you, having been an athlete at the very highest levels, how do you see athletes, especially on college campuses, how do you see them taking a leadership role in more of this? Is there a better way they could do some things?
It's interesting. About 3 or 4 months ago, I got a chance to sit down with some of the student athletes at the University of Texas, and also the athletic director, Chris Del Conte, at the University of Texas. We did a Zoom call because there was this decision about our fight song and some of the racist history of our fight song. And I appreciate what we call them CDC, Chris Del Conte. I appreciate what CDC did at that time, because instead of just making a rash decision, he decided to listen. He decided to listen. He got the student athletes from all the different sports and listened. And no, I'm not making a judgment on whether he made the right decision or not after the fact, but the simple act of listening, right? These student athletes are smart. We're smart. We know what we want. Yes, you may say we're young, but young people oftentimes are the ones who are making the biggest change. We're smart. We know what we want. So sometimes we just want a little bit of credibility to say, hey, can you listen to me? Can you just listen to me? And I know it's hard, right? Because we have so much on our plate. Not even to mention budgets, right? I understand I couldn't even imagine, better yet, the amount and the level of difficulty and pressure and doubt and fear that each and every one of you must be going through right now, just talking about budgets alone. Forget all the other things we talked about with political and social and racial unrest and global unrest. And so I think about the pressure that the student athletes are feeling, and that's real. It's a real pressure to perform on the field in the classroom and do it via Zoom, and you're 19 and 21. But then I think about the pressure but then I think about the pressure that you all are going through with having to lead people, having to make hard decisions about who stays and who goes. Leadership isn't for everyone, but the people who are under the sound of my voice sitting in the chairs that you're sitting in, it's for you. Leadership is for you. And so you asked Steve about what could the student athletes do better. I think the better question would be, how can we help serve them, lead them, and teach them better? We talked about it earlier. Things are caught, not taught. How do we set a good example for our student athletes to follow? Because think about it, my 18 to 22, and maybe yours as well, these are the most critical times in our lives that decided for me if I was going to go to the NFL or if I was not, if I was going to go and get my MBA or if I was not, if I was going to go win the Campbell Trophy or not. That 18 to 22 timeframe is some of the most critical times in our lives. And these student athletes, as much as we know what we want and all these things, but we also need people like you to look up to, people like you to follow. That's what we need. And so, number one, once again, I would say listen to the student athletes. Instead of saying you did this wrong or did that wrong, let's listen to them. And then let's set an example for them to follow.
Good, thank you. You know, a lot of times, Sam, particularly in football, we've got several coaches in the past that have talked about the concept of the huddle. And it's a general sense that when you look around the huddle and you get in there, you're going to call that next play. It really doesn't matter that the guy to the right or the left of you, his color, religion, whatever, you've got that shared goal. And the whole idea of how do we bring that forward, that we're all in the same huddle, how do we move forward, that we're all in it together. And I think what you said in terms of listening is really critical on all of that.
Yeah, I would even say just this idea of being real. Being real. Even now, we're doing this Zoom call. We got our suits on and our ties, and we're trying to do it the right way. But at the same time, there's chaos. A lot of us are at home, at our houses. A lot of us are in our bedrooms trying to work from home. A lot of us are on campus, but we can't have our staff come to campus. There's so much chaos. We feel like we have to have it all together and get our suit right and make sure it all looks good. But at the same time, people need us to be real. People need us to be real. And because I believe that people can see the fake. Your staff, your students, your spouses can see the fake. And so people need us to be real. And so I just want to just kind of put a pin on that point, Steve, about this time that we're in. Like, yes, there is a responsibility to lead, but oftentimes the best kind of leadership comes through vulnerability. The best kind of leadership comes through authenticity.
Yeah. Good, thank you. Maybe just switching into your own your reflections when you were at Texas. Why did you go to Texas, and what were the things that you got from the University of Texas, which clearly is a great institution and great football history, et cetera, the student athlete experience and all of that. What was, when you went there, what were the elements that changed you, that assisted you along this journey to be a leader and to be so committed to making changes, Sam?
In a lot of ways, I didn't choose Texas. In a lot of ways, Texas chose me. During my recruiting process, I was very late, not a late bloomer by any means, but people found out about me late. I was going into my senior year when I got a chance to go to this football camp at USC, University of Southern California. And people don't know this, a lot of people don't know this, but growing up, I wasn't the biggest football fan. I would play football, basketball, and track, but I wouldn't watch. My Saturday afternoons are usually spent watching cartoons, not college football. And so my younger brother, Emmanuel, had heard about this football camp at USC. And so it was during the summer. My family said, let's make it a family trip. So we go to this camp and we show up, and what we didn't know was that it was an invite-only camp, and we weren't invited. We weren't invited. Not only were we not invited, not only was it an invite-only camp, but it was their top 300 camp. The top 300 players from the entire state of California were at this camp. And somehow, some way, I think my dad smooth talked our way into that. Though our name wasn't on the list, we got a chance to go into this camp. And I performed really well. And Coach Carroll, Pete Carroll, was the coach at the time. He came and he saw me and essentially offered me a scholarship in a lot of ways on the spot. And actually, the long and short of it is, and I tell the whole story in my book and let the world see you, but the long and short of it is that I turned down USC because something about it didn't feel right. In my heart, in my spirit, something didn't feel right. Well, I said no to USC, and I actually was in the airport getting ready to go to Nigeria on one of these medical missions trips we talked about earlier. Pete Carroll called. They show their interest at the camp. Well, they said, we'll be in touch. And I said, well, hey, in a few weeks, I'm going to Nigeria. So if I don't hear from you, or if I don't pick up, it's because I have no service, and not because I don't like you. He says, no worries. Well, 2 weeks later, that's when he called to offer me a scholarship. And I was literally in the airport getting ready to take off. And he offered me, and I had no other offers really at the time, but for whatever reason, I said no. I got on the plane. As I'm on the plane, I'm freaking out. What did I do? I made the worst decision of my life. Well, what I didn't realize was that two things. Number one, I got a chance to serve and got my mind off of it. But also, while I was there, my highlight tape got put on this recruiting website called Rivals. And so when I got back, instead of just one school offering me, all the schools were offering me. And many of the schools, though they were great, they didn't feel like home. And what separated Texas for me from any other school was that it felt like home. When I went to go visit, the head coach at the time, Mac Brown, was in his office with his wife. And my parents and I came with me and my brother. And so to see him and his wife, it signaled to me family. I'm also Nigerian. And as I was walking through campus, I got a chance to meet some of the other Nigerian guys on the team, guys like Brian Arakpo, guys like Chris Obanaya. They came and they said hi. It signaled to me family. I also got a chance to tour the business school. All these things signaled to me family. After I committed and got to the school, I met the university president, President Powers. He was the president at the time. I mean, it just signaled to me family. And so what was the most special part about being at Texas for me was the relationships that I developed, not only on the field, which we haven't even got into, but the ones off the field with some of the coaches, with some of my professors, with the president of the university. Some of these relationships, it showed me that people actually cared. And that's what I took away the most from my time at Texas.
Sam, swinging that over now, a little bit, time has gone by since you left, and there's some real challenges coming up for all of the athletic directors and their schools. Name, image, and likeness, NIL. The transfer rules are different now than when you were there. Is there a way that how do you perceive all of that, and what changes do you think that will make on the campuses from the time that you were there, which wasn't that long ago, but how do you perceive those challenges and changes now, and how do you think it's going to impact everybody?
I see a great opportunity for forward-thinking leaders, athletic directors to innovate. That's what I see. Back when I was even looking at now, name, image, and likeness, I think about, okay, there's the mindset of, is this going to work and how's this going to look? That's one mindset, but there's another mindset of, okay, how do I help maximize the on-field, on-court, and off-field, off-court experience for my student athletes? I just wrote a book called Let the World See You, right? How to be real in a world full of fakes. This book is about what it means to be seen, to be known, to be loved. It's about being real and being authentic. And I think about what better message to send to student athletes than saying, hey, let the world see you. As a football player, you have helmets and face masks on. All right, let the world see you behind the helmet. People who do fencing, right? The same thing. Let the world see you off of the court. Let people see the real you. For me, people don't know this, I love Shakespeare. Love Shakespeare. Right? I memorized Richard III, his soliloquy when he was trying to become king. I love Shakespeare. I love literature, going to the Canterbury Tales. I memorized the prologue to the Canterbury Tales in Old English. I love math. Love math. I'm the guy who, when you go to a restaurant, you got your tip. I'm doing the math just right there, just try to make it right. I love math. I could tell you pi to the 14th decimal. So that's me. That's me. But for the longest time on campus, I would hide that. Why? I'm glad you asked. I would hide that because I didn't know if people would accept me for me. I didn't know if people would love me for me. I knew they would love the big, bad football player. And yes, that's part of me, but I didn't know if they would love the guy who loves to write, the guy who loves to just sit and listen to people and learn. I didn't know that. And so for me, this journey of being real and being authentic, what better message to send to our student athletes and saying, hey, let the world see you. This is a great opportunity as an athletic director to say, hey, let the world see you. You have a great opportunity to be able to maximize and monetize yourself and your brand, but you can't do that if you hide. You can't do that if you pretend. You can't do that if you let shame or guilt or fear continue to hold you back. So we need you to be real and be authentic and find out the things you care about. And if you know about them already, show them to people. And oh, by the way, I'm gonna do the same. Follow me. It's caught, not taught. So I'm gonna be real about whatever it is. I'm not gonna act like I have it all together. I'm still trying to figure this out too. I'm gonna be real with you, and let's go on this journey together.
We were doing really good until you went to pi to the 14th and all of that.
That's why I won the Campbell Trophy, man. 3.14159265358979. What more do you want? That's what the Campbell Trophy winners are supposed to do. Every other winner needs to do that. No, I'm kidding.
We'll pass that on. Oh, that's great. Sam, before we get off of that subject, as you know, one of the things we do at the foundation is highlight education and the value of education. And we put out the statistic all the time, which we try to convey to everybody, that there's 81,000 guys playing college football in most years. And very few get drafted or signed as free agents. In fact, we use as the number working with the NFL that only 0.6, maybe 0.7% of all of the guys in any given year make it to the NFL. So now we've got a lot of very wonderful people that were terrific players. What would your advice be to guys that thought they could make it to the NFL and they didn't, because it's rare air, that you played in the NFL? What's your advice to guys that have that such a focus on making the NFL and they don't make it? What's the next step?
It's interesting because there's a saying, all hard work leads to profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. I would tell those guys that all your hard work, the 6 a.m. lifts, the 7 to 9 p.m. study halls, the 8 a.m. classes, the 2 p.m. practices, and the 4 p.m. meetings, I would tell them that all your hard work is not in vain. All those blocks that you built, they're not in vain. Just because you didn't make it to the NFL doesn't mean that you don't have an even better life plan and life path ahead of you. What does another statistic people don't say, and this was the statistic when I entered the NFL, is that 80% of players after they retire, within 2 years of retirement, are either depressed, divorced, or bankrupt. So there are other statistics out there as well that say, hey, maybe I shouldn't do this whole NFL thing. Yeah, the money's great, but there's some payment you got to make on the back end. So I would tell those players, and I believe those statistics are a little bit better now. The NFL and the NFL Players Association, which I serve on, is try to really help change those stats. But I would tell those student athletes that you are more than just an athlete. And all the work that you put in will help you for the next thing. It'll help you for the next thing. All that hard work you did, it's going to lead to profit. And it may not lead to profit in the way that you see it, $1 million contracts, and I'm on the cover of billboards and Wheaties boxes. No, but it may be profit in, man, I know how to be a really good husband. Or for our female student athletes, man, I know how to be a really good wife. You know, so for some people, I know how to work hard. I know how to work hard. And that's helped me in my next adventure. Better yet, I know how to take risks. I know how to take risks. I've done use football as an example, right? I had a coach who said, no risk it, no biscuit. I've taken big risks and I may have failed, but those failures are really lessons that have taught me that I can achieve even more. And so I would tell them, this is only the beginning and the best is yet to come.
Sam, this has been a really challenging year for a lot of people. And I say that word, the word challenge in 2020 has barbed wire attached to it. It's been so tough. What's your opinion of playing football during a year of the pandemic? Because football was so uplifting to so many people, but it would be interesting to know your perspective on playing in this particular time.
I serve on the NFL Players Association. I'm one of the vice presidents. I'm on the executive committee. I was one of the guys who was negotiating the collective bargaining agreement, but I was also one of the guys who was helping these negotiations on will we or won't we have a season? Will we or won't we? Should we or shouldn't we move forward? And I'll be honest, initially I was of the opinion that football should not be played this year. That was my opinion. Looking at the statistics, looking at the numbers, looking at the fact that we're living in a pandemic. Initially, I said, guys, why are we trying to play? Why are we trying to force this thing? We're trying to fit football in a pandemic. It doesn't work that way. That was my initial opinion. As a thought leader, as a decision maker, that's where I stood. And then I went and listened to some of my colleagues, guys who I was training with, getting ready for a season, guys who were rookies trying to make a team, guys who were on their third year. And if they make it to their fourth year, then they'll get pension. Listen to the guys who said, man, this has been my lifelong dream. I'm not even a rookie yet. All I want to do is play. We want to play. I listened. And after a little bit of listening, my opinion changed. And instead of advocating for what I wanted and saying, well, I don't think we should play, I actually said, hey, you know what? I talked to our guys and our guys want to play. But we need some specific safety measures in place in order to play and play safely. We're not just going to throw ourselves out there. Let's get these measures in place, whether it's testing, isolating, and so on and so forth. And so my initial opinion was that we shouldn't play. After talking to the guys, I said that we should play, and then also have a relationship with some people in the NFL office as well. And after speaking with them, I realized that, oh, wow, we are going to play. And I believe, and we're a few weeks away because the goal was to get to a Super Bowl. I said, man, I believe this is actually going to work. Initially, I said, there's no way, even if we play, there's no way we finish the season. Then I actually talked to the guys in charge, and I saw some of the plans put in place. And I said, oh, yeah, we are going to play, and we're actually going to finish the season. And so to answer your question, I'm really glad that we did play. I'm enjoying the playoffs. I decided not to play this year. but I'm watching from afar, and I'm my friends and my teammates, I'm their biggest fan.
Yeah, good. Thank you. That's a good perspective because it's good give and take back and forth on such a ticklish issue. Sam, we do want to talk about your book a little bit. Being an author is very special. A lot of us, like Bill Hancock, who runs the college football playoff, and others, we had a chance when we worked for Chuck Ninus at the Big 8 conference. He hired the first ever African American football player at Oklahoma. His name is Prentice Scott, and Prentice was in my book. If he had a list of the 5 most wonderful people you ever meet, Prentice would be in the top 3. And he always said he was always special because just imagine what he went through in the 50s to play football at Oklahoma. And Bud Wilkinson knew that he had to have a special person. And Prentice always said, whenever we'd say, well, I don't understand where this guy's coming from, or this guy's a jerk, or whatever it was, Prentice always said, look, everybody's got a barcode. And the problem with human beings today is that we all need to have a reader for the barcode. What is it that person, if you plugged into that barcode, what would you learn about that person? What's he going through at that time in his life? Forget whether or not he's having a tough time with the football team, but what's he going through with his family? What's he going through with his parents? What's he going through economically, whatever? And it just seems like a lot of the things that you got into in your book, which is special, would be to encapsulate a lot of that. And we thought maybe we'd just take a little moment today to have you share what's in your book and how that factors into today.
I want to address your first point about what's going on sometimes behind the mask. I just lost my grandmother about 3 days ago now. She lived in Nigeria. She was over 100 years old. She doesn't speak a lick of English, but we loved her dearly. That's why we would go every summer to go visit and see her. And it wasn't COVID related. It was old age. That was hard. It still is. It's still extremely hard, extremely difficult. Usually every time I even say those words, tears start flowing. I can feel them now. So we're going through it. My family is going through it. A lot of people don't know this. If you go get my book and you'll be able to read this chapter. It's called Blessing. It's chapter 12. But my wife and I met through my grandmother. My wife is from Nigeria. She was born and raised in Nigeria, and we met at 15 years old. That first year that I took that trip to Nigeria, we met because she was actually taking care of my grandmother. She moved from the city she was living in to the village to take care of my grandmother. And that's how we met. And 70 years later, we would start dating, and the next year we would get married. And so it's hard. It's hard. I found out yesterday or 2 days ago now, the day after, my dad is in the hospital now, almost 70 years old, in the hospital now, dealing with COVID and pneumonia. So that's going on. My mom, who's spending time with my dad, isn't feeling well as well. So it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard. There's no getting around that. But one thing I do know is that God is good. I have faith. God is good. God is good. So I'm going to continue to praise God, to thank God, to worship him for what he's doing. God is good. I have faith. I have family. Being around, being able to support my family at this tough time, right? FaceTimes, calls, if I can visit the things. I have family. That's important. And then lastly, that education piece we talked about at the beginning, this book, my book, didn't come from, it wasn't like I just sat and said, you know what? I'm 32 years old, played 9 years in the NFL. It's time to write a book. This book was birthed out of pain. This book was birthed out of pain. Let the World See You was birthed out of years of hiding, of pretending, years of trying to be what everyone else wanted me to be, instead of being who I feel like God called me to be. This book was birthed out of pain. Many of the words that were written, that I wrote, that I typed, they're words filled with tears. And so, yes, we're going through a lot, and 2020 has been hard, and 2021 has not been any better. But there's hope. There's hope because at the most critical times, at the times where it seems like there's the most chaos, the most frustration, the most doubt, that's when real leaders step up. In June, a few weeks after George Floyd was killed and Ahmaud Arbery was killed, I was frustrated. I was angry. I was sad. I was confused. I didn't know what to do. And I thought about what I had. I said, you know what? I'm the ultimate connector. I love people. I have relationships. So let me reach out to some of my friends in the athlete world. I thought about the gifts that I have as well, the gifts that God gave me of leading and bring people together. So I said, okay, what if we could bring people together? And then I thought about the city I was living in at the time and still am today, in Chicago. The west side of Chicago was a place that was struggling. And so what I did on Monday the 4th, I was on a Zoom call on Monday, June 4th, I was on a Zoom call with some of the community leaders from one of the nonprofits on the west side of Chicago. And they said, Sam, we're struggling. We're questioning our faith. Our young people are wondering if they're even worth anything. What do we do? It's chaos, it's pain. And my next thought was, how about we build? So I got off that call, tears in my eyes, and I started making some calls. I reached out to some friends who played for different teams in the Chicago area, the Bulls, the Bears, the Blackhawks, the White Sox, the Chicago Sky, that's a WNBA team here in Chicago. And I said, hey, let's get together and let's go to the West Side. Let's just sit and listen to what some of these young people are going through. So we did. In the midst of a pandemic, yes, the numbers were down then, but we were socially distanced, outside, masks on, and we sat and we listened with young Black kids on the West Side of Chicago, with pro athletes and police officers. We sat and we listened. And some of the things we heard that, man, we feel like people don't care about us. That's what they said. Some of the kids said. Some of the officers said, man, I feel like my job is to protect and serve, and some of my colleagues forget the serve part. That's what we heard. And after we sat and we listened and we heard, we decided to take a tour, took a field trip, if you will, on the west side of Chicago. It took about a 30-minute drive around a few blocks, and just to be able to see, because we read about looting and rioting. We said, let's just see what's going on. And yes, we saw that some windows were broken and things of the sort. But we also saw, I asked Jason Hayward, one of the guys who came with us, plays for the Cubs. I said, hey man, Jason, how many grocery stores have you seen in this 30-minute drive in this block, these couple blocks? He said, I maybe counted one. I said, great. How many liquor stores have you seen? He said, over 10. So that's a problem. So the next week we said, what if we raise some money, use our influence, use our voice, use our power, raise some money, and we bought one of these liquor stores and turned it into a food mart, per the kids' direction, because that's what they said they wanted. They said they wanted some healthy food. And so that's what we did. We got together and we built something. And now, 8 months later, Austin Harvest, this food mart that was a dream really of the kids, we asked them if they wanted it. This food mart, this open air food mart is alive and well, open and running in the city of Chicago. I say that whole story to say, from pain is the birthplace of greatness. Pain is the birthplace of greatness. And so, yes, we're all going through something, but what I would encourage you and exhort you with is don't run from the pain. You are in this position that may be painful, maybe some fear, some doubt. Don't run from it, embrace it, because that pain will only make you greater, stronger. And oh, by the way, you're in a position for such a time as this.
Sam, marvelous, thank you. We've been asked to wrap it up. I would say that it's marvelous being with you, as it is all the time. We miss seeing you. Bill Campbell would be, to this day, would be very proud of you. He was such a marvelous leader. And if he had a chance to be here right now, he hugged everybody in the world, and he'd probably come right through this Zoom and hug you. But you made us all proud. You made us all proud. And we're proud that you played football. We're proud that you we're a Campbell Trophy winner. We're proud with where you are now. And our only regret is that we just don't see enough. And hopefully 2021 and beyond that will change all of that. But you're wonderful to take the time here today, and we appreciate it immensely. And all the best to you. That's all we can say, good friend. And to all of you athletic directors, as we started out, when you talk about Sam Acho, the thing that we knew right away was this is a person with great depth. And you helped us with all of that today, Sam. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
We appreciate you. Bob?
Sam, Steve, thank you so much. Sam, I don't know why the heck you were a linebacker. You should have been a wide receiver because you've got everything you've been catching. You've got the best set of hands I've ever seen. So thank you so much for this. Your comments about your family, faith, education, family, so important. Your comment about, caught versus taught. I mean, that just, it's so simple, but it makes, when you really think it through, it makes so much sense. And then, your leadership comments, it's listening. It's, again, just basic stuff. Just listen. You can't make a decision until you decide what really the people you're leading, what they want, and put your own thoughts aside. I mean, just so strong, so good. Like Steve said, you continue to make us proud. You're a product of what we do. You are the reason everyone on this call does what they do. And for that, we thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And I'm going to say one more word. I couldn't have gotten to where I was at without the people on this call. And I know that sounds like a generalization. I understand that, but without real leaders leading, there's no way I could have gotten to where I was at. And I'm just one person. I'm just one person. I haven't even done that much. There's a lot of people who've done a whole lot more. I'm just one person. Imagine the people you are affecting. So yes, I understand like the weight is heavy and the crown you wear and the weight, it's heavy. I get that, but don't lose hope. Take heart, take courage, because as Bob just said and Steve alluded to earlier, I'm a product of your service. I'm a product of your sacrifice. And there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of other student athletes who are products of your service. So keep the hope alive. Take heart, take courage, take care of yourself. If you're not taking care of yourself, how can you take care of others? Take care of yourself because we need you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
God bless your mom and dad. I hope your dad comes out of this with shining colors. So thank you. Thank you so much for being with us. Everyone today, thank you. All of our administrators that are with us. I'd like to thank our first session, Rick and Tom, obviously, Sam and Steve. Thank you so much. Learfield, Cole, thank you for your support through the years. We look forward to getting through this pandemic and having all of us get back together again. And I'd like to end with our friends from Gojo Industries, makers of Perel. They have a video we'd like to end with. And again, thank you all for being with us, and stay safe out there and enjoy the game tonight. Thank you much.